small squad out there. Do we presume that's sort of the list plus a couple of the long-termers?
Yeah. Some guys don't back up, so weren't out there doing much, but I think that's a pretty good assumption.
Rory Long, has he done enough to play?
Hasn't got the final tick off, but he's pretty close. Yeah, so till the doctors come and say he's absolutely available, which they haven't done yet, there's always a little bit of doubt. So he'll get that checked out probably now, and we're pretty confident though.
It was a pretty light session out there, and even then he was held out of it. Why?
He trained yesterday and got through enough, in my eyes. So there's some guys that could do it, who'll be forced to do it, but they just don't back up. So I wouldn't be reading too much into what he did out there today.
If he does play, Justin, are you confident putting him into the ruck? Will he play the exact role that he normally does?
Yeah, that's the role we've got for him. So he has to be fit to play that role.
And what sort of contingencies are you looking at if he doesn't play?
We've got Lloyd Meek, who's in great form. I think Melbourne are a team we probably need two tools against, or two genuine rucks against. So that's an option if he doesn't get up.
Jai Amos was running around out there as well. It was ruled out with the club earlier in the year, but he's doing a lot more. Is he any chance to play football this year?
Yeah, he is. We probably maybe ruled him out early days, and then we left the door open just so it was probably for his own motivation more than anything. And there's opportunity if he ticked every box along the way and got the all clear from the Docs. Most importantly, that he'd be a chance to return late in the season, and he has done that. He's embraced his rehab. He's ticked every box. There's still some pretty significant ones he needs to tick off before he plays again, but we're hopeful he can do that, and we're hopeful he can return before the end of the season.
Would there be time for him to break his way into the senior side, or is it looking more to Waffle return this year?
I think looking more to Waffle at this stage, but never rule that out. Never ruled anything out. Especially for someone of his ability. But we'll just tick off each step as they come, and that'll start with Waffle.
Is it as simple as Rory Locke comes in from that 5, or do you need to look at replacing other elements of what 5 does?
Looks like that could be the case at the moment. We haven't finalised selection, so till tomorrow night you won't find out, but there's likely to be a couple of changes.
You had a training session at Optus. How did it appear to you? Any concerns from you guys about the way the show fit?
Well, the way you've seen it is the way it was yesterday. And, the wing that doesn't get a lot of sunlight is getting a little bit heavy and chopped up. The outer side's fine. The idea around training there was more to get used to it. And, the surface out here is pretty pristine, and guys can get away with any footwear they want out here. They wear grass cats in the middle of winter. So that's not ideal preparation. So training there yesterday was about giving our players the best preparation to perform and get another look at it. And I think that was pretty successful.
So you specifically trained on that kind of broadcast?
Oh, no, we weren't allowed a lot of access to that.
Yeah.
But the footing is different there all over the ground at the moment. And it's something we need to make sure we get used to.
Were you surprised, Justin, they let you on there at all?
A little bit. But I guess our argument was that the ground is what it is. It's really hard for them to get it pristine again before the end of the season, and we need to get used to it. So we put our case forward. They were really good. The management there, we've had no issues with. They understand that the ground is not an ideal situation. So they were good enough to let us on there to see if we can adapt to it a little bit better. So hopefully we see that come out on Friday night.
You guys have another chance to have a look at it maybe tomorrow or early Friday?
No, it was probably about prioritising our main session. So we got the opportunity to do that, which we were really grateful for.
You've got Melbourne again. You had a ripping game against them last time. Have they changed their game style much since then? They've kind of gone through ups and downs, or can you kind of replicate some things you did in that game again this week?
I don't think they've changed too much. And I still think their best footy is as good as anyone's. and I think that'd be the one to admit that they probably haven't been as consistent in games as they'd like, but just to look at their win-loss is probably a little bit fraught with danger. Their best footy, and when they get on top in the game, is really strong. I mean, 74 points they kicked in the first half last week, which is dominant. So we've looked at their best footy, and it hasn't changed too much, and it's still going to be a real challenge for us.
Jake Lever's back, Stephen May's down there as well. How important is it to hopefully have Rory out there, considering you probably struggled with those targets last week and they've got great intercept defenders?
Yeah, it's a real strength of their game. So, it's important we get good representation forward of the ball and we get a good contest on the ball.
Justin, that last game obviously swung pretty dramatically. So, how useful is that as a blueprint, the things you were able to do to sort of break them open last time?
Yeah, it's handy. I think our players get a good understanding of what works, and they get a good understanding also of what we need to improve. And the second quarter we looked at again, and they got their game going, and we couldn't stop it. So we need to make sure we put a more consistent effort and performance on the board as well. So our players should believe that they can get the job done, but scoreboard starts 0-0 again, so we're going to have to go to work.
It's obviously a chance for 4 points, but also to deny them 4 points. Are you a subscriber to 8-point games?
No, I'm not actually. No, I'm a subscriber to making sure we get back to our most consistent footy, and there's a lot of this time of the year. There's a lot of distractions and outcome distractions that our players can get caught up in, and everyone can get caught up in, and our priority needs to be next moment and executing the next moment, and that's what we're really focused on.
You're back on, Justin. How's the group going, do you think?
I think, good. I think they're going well. There's always areas we can improve on, and I think I said it after the game last week. I think we can build on that second half against Richmond. Clearly we didn't get a score on the board, but the way the game looked, I think we can take a lot of positives out of. I thought we dominated the last quarter without getting it on the scoreboard, and our backs played a big part in that. So to deny one of the highest scoring teams in the last 8 weeks, 52, to keep them to 52 points, I think was a great effort, and largely on the way our backs defended.
With the personnel that you've got back there at the moment, do you feel like you've got sort of every role that you would want covered and playing well?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a fair assumption.
And a couple on Hayden, his marking, how important do you think that's become to you as a team?
Oh, clearly it's a strength of his and the team, and it's a real weapon. And it's something that's been noticeable. I think everyone realised he was an elite kick when he came into the competition, but his aerial presence was also really strong. And I think we've seen both of those strengths really come to the fore. He's improved his defensive positioning and his tank to be able to get in really good positions to defend, and now his strengths are coming out more often. So, for someone who's played 30 games, he's a really mature person, really mature player, and someone who's become really reliable for us.
He's going at over 80% of his kicking efficiency in recent weeks. Has he got a bit of a license from you to take those dangerous kicks and find a target?
No, he hasn't. No, he's worked really hard to find the balance in his kicking, and so quite often people judge kicking by how much you can pull off, and the harder the kick you pull off. And I think with Youngie, it's been his coaching's been more around hitting the basic kick more often, and he's found a real balance between just being a reliable kick versus setting the game up for us. And I think the last few weeks he's found a real balance in that, and I don't think he made a mistake with ball in hand too. Well, he might have made one or two, but it was pretty reliable last week, and it wasn't necessarily pulling off kicks that resulted in scores every time. It was about just being reliable with ball in hand, and I think his whole game came together last week. So yeah, he's in a good space.
Last one on him, when you look at some of the leading halfbacks around the competition, do you see his form and his role in your team as stacking up with some of those guys?
Yeah, in the short term, yeah. His challenge now is to put those performances together and stack them on top of each other for weeks and weeks and years. That's what the good players do. And like I said before, he's a really mature person. He's a really reliable player. I've got full confidence that he'll keep producing those performances. And don't really judge his game on how many possessions he gets. It's more about his defensive positioning and his contest. And those things have become really reliable as well. So I think we've got a good mix with our high half backs. I mean, Geordie Clark's in good form, and Brandon Walker's doing jobs for us week in, week out. So Youngie's an important part of our backline mix.
You're talking about energy a lot lately, and it's been ebbing and flowing, especially the young team. Is there anything you've been able to do this week to try and address that and kind of get it to bounce back? I mean, that Melbourne win you had earlier in the year is probably almost seems like the peak of when the side was at with their energy.
No, I've just tried to make sure it's front of mind for us, because it is everyone talks about the monotony of the season, and it can become a bit of a grind this time of the year. But I also think you can reframe that thinking when you do slip into a more of a negative mindset. And I think we've made a conscious effort of trying to flip that thinking into the positives that are in front of us. And you don't find yourself in these situations very often, so you need to make the most of them, and you need to lean into each other, and you need to make sure that you're adding to the positivity of the group. So our players have been really good though, and they've been eating up the work, and they've been coming to work with a smile on their face. So it's probably trying to reinforce the behaviours you want to see more than anything.
Do you go to the leaders and try and get them to kind of drive that from within the group?
No, it's everyone. The leaders are a part of it, as are all the staff and the coaches. So everyone just needs to make sure we bring the right energy to the group, and we're looking at the positivities of what are in front of us.
I can't remember if you asked about Alex Pearce. Is he good to go?
Yep, good to go.
And Rory Lobb, has he come to the club now to indicate that he's keen on a move?
It is where it is. Like we've commented on it plenty of times. I've stated my stance on it, and that's where it's at.